Good evening, everybody. Welcome. We are needing to use these devices this evening because the loop didn't quite do the job last time. These devices will keep our fingers crossed, will not play up. But I understand this might be the last meeting that we have to use them as they'll be replaced today. So, good evening. For this meeting of the Royal Berkshire Fire Authority, 23rd February. Obviously, some important items tonight in terms of budget setting. Bearing in mind that the budget has been through a number of processes, not only the Budget Working Party, the Management Committee 2 weeks ago, which there were other members there because we went into a full Fire Authority meeting. It's had a good airing. Clearly, if this evening there are points that need to be made, please do so. Very good to see Connor here, and we are very appreciative of Connor being here when we know he's had the loss of his father, which we talked about. I'm sure we'll be here tonight. So, any apologies for absence, please?
Yes, Chair, we've had apologies from the councillors Brewer, Nazir and Satty.
Any from the floor, Councillor Werner?
Councillor Sponto. Trying to get home from.
Thank you. So that's what we've got. We'll press on to declaration of interest, and I am, having looked at this earlier today, monitoring officer, straight to my right hand side. No declarations of pecuniary interest arise for members in approving the scheme of allowance or approving the budget or setting the precinct. So we are exempt from that, having to declare interest. On the budget, I'm making you aware, we would take the recommendation of 2.1 to 2.8 on block, unless there are any amendments, in which case I'm going to have to adapt. There will be a mandatory recorded vote. So we will have to tell us what the declared position is as we get through the budget. And the budget, I will take items individually, one after the other, but the vote will come at the end. All happy with it? Moving on then to minutes of the meeting held on the 25th of November. May I have somebody to propose? I have Councillor Jack proposing. Do I have a second? Councillor Billy Drummond, great to see you. All those in favour, please adopting those minutes, accepting those minutes. Thank you very much. And then the 10th of December 2025, disposer, please. Councillor Simon Werner. And second, please, Councillor Wendy Griffiths. Thank you very much. All those in favour of accepting those minutes? Item 4, petition questions to the public on standing orders 1925. And number 6. On then to receipt of announcements. Members. To my left is our chief, Councillor Wayne Bogan, Chief Forester. And this will be his last Fire Authority meeting in an official capacity. We know he'll come to many more just for the fun. But he retired from the service at the end of March after 33 years serving in 5 different fire and rescue services. He's overseen a hugely successful period of this service, driving forward many key areas of focus for the benefit of our community. He's been quite inspirational to staff, members, and great support to me personally, and I'm very grateful to you. Got to know each other a bit, and what I've most enjoyed is the candour, practice, the way that you are prepared to tell me more than just what I need to know, background. So this relationship between chair and chief is not transactional. It's based on sharing important information and give context. And I've worked with a lot of senior officers who find it very difficult to give you the off-the-record stuff and treat it with a degree of security and confidentiality that enables the chair, senior members to really understand the issue. Sometimes a personal issue, sometimes a really difficult service issue, sometimes a political issue. And Wayne has an abundance of ability in all three of those areas. That's tremendously helpful when a chief officer can look at the politics of the issue without expressing a side, but looking at how things go. And we will miss him. It's been a tremendous honour to have you here. Yes, I have worked with a number of chief officers, and I'm not going to grade them. But you will be missing, and we owe you a lot. I hope that, you know, we'll get that luncheon before we go and express that in a different way as well. I know that all members will agree. It's been a pleasure working with you. Your knowledge and experience have been so valuable to all members of the authority. And you go out on a high with our inspection. We get 8 goods out of 11. It's a hard act to follow to the new chief. Since my left, Myron Riley. But it's not just your contribution to both the Department of Rescue Service and the authority, it's also your contribution to the service. And you were a worthy recipient of the KMC. And you go.
They might change their mind.
I'm going to get through this meeting without blocking your copy. They're great. But we will look out for them. So I'd like you to say a word or two. But congratulations to you. All you've done. Would you like to respond to us?
I might have a few pages.
Right there. So I need a mic here.
Thank you, Chair. Very kind words. I do look forward to my questions from the public section, and I'll send them through. Hopefully, I'll attend in person for those. No, it's gosh, ending a 33-year career is in good spirits and at the right time, probably personally and professionally, is a nice way in the KFSM as culmination is an incredible honour, to be honest. So yeah, it's been a blast, I think people say. Incredibly, I have clear memories of a 19-year-old kid who thought he knew everything about the world and knew nothing, starting in Staffordshire in 1992, which feels like an absolute lifetime ago, but I've got incredibly vivid memories of that period of my career. So it is an amazing journey. And along that, I mean, who knew I would have ended up here? It was never part of the plan. So, you know, it's kind of, I owe a lot and I'm incredibly grateful to the fire service in general for the opportunities that it's presented to me. Fantastic people, fantastic training, executive education, and travel, you name it, a whole load of things that's culminated in unlocking my potential, I suppose, to be able to have the privilege to do a job like this. Along the way, there's been tragedy, personal injury and trauma. That's a story for a pint. But the support, the camaraderie, the sector has been the prevailing tonic that gets you through all of that, that helps you heal, helps you endure and move on and succeed, I guess. All of that as well is compensated by that sense of duty and the privilege to serve the public that I know we all do in this room, whether you're a councillor or whether you're a member of the staff of the organisation. The sense of duty and the privilege to do that, to keep people safe or to ease their suffering, is an incredible honour. huge list of people to thank, so I'm not going to go through all of them tonight. I've benefited from the knowledge of a lot of people, and I've learned about how not to do stuff from some along the way as well. And there's another story for a different occasion. But to colleagues in Staffordshire, in Devon and Somerset, in Nottinghamshire, in Gloucestershire, and here, including county councillors, fire authority members across all of those organisations, thank you to all. This is a team profession and it's not an individual effort to make what we do work as well as we do. And then to my family, they've been on this journey with me. My deepest gratitude to my family. It's a huge commitment for us all. It brings security, it brings the ability to retire early, which is a great honour. But it also brings the stresses, it brings the responsibility, the disturbed sleep, the absence from birthdays and Christmases and all of those things that come with it. So it is now their turn to help me around for a little while. I'm desperately hoping that part goes well. So thank you to Joe, Mitch, Henry, Mum and Dad, who appears to have done a reasonable job along the way. So thank you to them. They've all supported me very much and I love you all dearly. And I couldn't have done this without any of you and the support. And finally, the future of Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Service members. Your support to officers is absolutely critical and has been most welcome to me along the way. You have an incredibly dedicated team of professional senior leaders who work hard day in, day out to help you discharge your duties. And to give you the best possible advice. And having listed organisations that I've worked, and I can honestly say that you do have a very professional, very dedicated, very capable leadership team of officers working here for you. To SLT colleagues, keep up the great work. Stay focused on the people, the culture, and the high standards. Be bold and be different. And finally, good luck and Godspeed tomorrow. Continue to build on the good foundations. This is a really, really good organisation, and I speak with experience. The 8 Goods is testament to that, but it is a team effort. So keep working on the team, keep working with the team, stay focused on what it is we're here to do, and stay focused on the fact that you achieve that through the people that you take with you and the great work that they do. So, Chair, thank you very much for your kind words. Chair and members, thank you very much. I wish you well.
Thank you for that, and we wish you a very good retirement. Keep busy. Life is not about suiting yourself. You need reason to get up. You need duties. Our life has been about duty. Commitment. There's no such thing as can't be bothered in my household. I'm sure it's the same in. Well, I can't be bothered to do housework. Go then. So we congratulate Mark Hartwell. You sir. Steve, continue to deliver the very best service to the people of Royal Berkshire. Came through a tough interview process with a standing other candidate, absolutely outstanding other candidate. We are pleased to have you there. Know how tough it was to get there. I'm also grateful to Becky Jones, helping members through that process. You had 2 outstanding internal candidates with barely anything between the 2. I give a great to you for helping us. Onward then to welcoming new councillors. Genevieve Godley, I was told it was pronounced Genevieve. I hope you watched the film. It was not named after you, but it's quite an interesting film. And you're from Royal Borough of Windsor Mainland. It means that due to the political balance of Royal Borough of Windsor Mainland, the Conservative group will gain one additional seat. You're on the up, you Conservatives. That's not true what we read in the papers. And on behalf of the Borough Authority, I'd like to welcome you, Councillor Gosling, and I look forward to working with you. And I'm told that perhaps Mike isn't working, but we'll crack on.
Just to make it closer.
Welcome, Councillor Gosling. Just as a clarification, in a previous meeting, question raised about whether members could access the Royal Berkshire Fire and Rescue Service internet system siren. We weren't, but we were. And after looking into this, we can clarify members cannot currently access siren. So it's only shared internally with staff through the devices, their devices. So as was previously the case, any supporting documents and information held on siren will be provided to us all by Faith. As fast as you've got a good rating on 8 out of 11, HMIS, HMI Magistrate Inspector, Chief Fire and Rescue Service, announced that our next inspection will take place in September of this year. They must like it here. Did we overdo the hospitality? Yeah, were the sandwiches of that great moment that they decided we must go back to Berkshire? And the inspector we look forward due to change to their timetable. It will begin in September this year. Document submissions, this is a big piece of work again, and the staff survey is due to take place in June, July this year. So straight into that is the new chief. And it says here, in case I haven't mentioned it before, in their most recent inspection report, April 25, they assessed us at graded in 11 areas, good grades for 8 of them, and the remaining 3 were graded as adequate. There's the bar, incoming Chief Fire Officer. And you have a tough act to follow. I know you'll give it your. In terms of whole-time recruitment, the service is now accepting applications to join the next cohort of whole-time firefighters, firefighter apprentices. Over people who are new to firefighting, the service's whole-time apprenticeship program is a direct pathway into a rewarding career in the fire and rescue business. As part of the apprenticeship, the service is welcoming applicants from any background or walk of life, so long as they are new to firefighting. Gives them that distinction to be an apprentice. There is no stereotypical firefighter. I think we have a diverse team, group of staff, which can be more diverse. And again, we should be advertising this online to continue to take on great people with a diversity that helps us across the service. And we look forward to that new cohort. The application window is open for 3 weeks. Will close on Tuesday, the 10th of March. So it's open now, I would imagine. To apply, please visit rbfrs.co.uk/careers. That's what it says here. I'm not sure it's touting for any of us to apply, but we may know some. Members, please promote this news round of recruitment amongst your communities. Spread the news of this exciting career opportunity. Becky, can you give us just a sentence or two of where we are promoting this, please?
Yeah, we'll do all the normal reach through the advertising stage, so we'll go through all the social media aspects. We'll also make sure through our activities and service delivery where we're coming in contact with potential new recruits that we're capitalising on those opportunities. So we'll do that pre any recruitment process, but it will also have a fixed campaign across the year to try and raise that profile continually. I can circulate more information if that's useful.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So, is there any questions on my announcement? I will move on with it. And item 6, issues arising from the Audit Governance Committee. No reports have been referred. Questions from members?
Chair.
I beg your pardon. Sorry.
Right, no, not
Councillor Lindsay Brown.
Chair, it would be nice, are you telling everybody here, because I'm not sure I've got this.
It's only coming on now, because we've got these
Shout.
Yeah.
It would be nice to know what the latest position is, because he can't be in from that committee.
Position as in, has it met?
Latest information. Connor, could we have an update at the next meeting, do you think, from AMG,
Well,
a report?
the minutes are normally received here. I'm looking to my right. No minutes are due to be received tonight.
That's right.
Would you like a briefing in the meantime?
No, it could be the briefing next, our next authority meeting. Is that doable?
Well, we'll do that at the next management committee.
Perfect.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right.
Thank
So thank you for that question. Notices of motion, item 8. Thank you. And recommendations of committees. The item 10 of the budget, the whole of the budget item, has been recommended from Management Committee on the 10th of February, very recently. Pay policy taking group has been recommended from Audit and Governance, which met on the 26th of January, Council again report, so clearly it's doing its work. The scheme of allowance review has been recommended from Management Committee on February 2026. And so we are going to debate and hopefully agree those this evening. All clear so far. We then move into the main business of the evening. Members, the budget. And we start with Appendix A. This is the executive summary of the whole budget, and I will introduce it with some broad comments before we go into the Appendix B, budget resolution. I think I've said in other places, and I'll say it again here. This has been a much more difficult budget to say. We are finding our finances tightening. I do understand the context I say that, where district and borough councillors are sitting around the table telling us just how difficult their budgets are. The worry I have, and I think the service has, is the direction of travel for the service is moving towards that sort of really difficult, complex budgeting situation. Reserves this year are under more stress than they have been before. We see, and we'll talk about it within our strategic assets and investment framework, capital investment is getting hard. We have quite rightly invested the receipts we receive from when we good and other places in excellent estate upgrades. But without capital grant from the government, our ability to invest in our estate is reducing. And I said to the Vice Chair earlier in private conversation, at some point, I think the authority may wish to make some representation to try and get that capital grant reinstated. We have improved and built new facilities. Only this last year, the training facility with Wood. But as we look at 2 or 3 of our stations, the buildings need a lot of work, if not complete redevelopment. Right now, we don't have that within our budget. So that is how we're being more constrained, both capital and revenue. We will discuss this over the months ahead. We are moving up, though, during the medium-term financial plan to move up to what our fiscal rule on borrowing will be. So we can't simply go and borrow because our fiscal rule is 3% revenue in terms of repayments. I don't really want to breach that, and the MTFS does not do, because there are authorities saying, "Oh, we'll go and borrow 5 million quid to redevelop Junction Road." We're not proposing that. but the ability to do that, not coming necessarily from capital receipts up. That's a long-winded way of saying things are getting tighter. But he said that it's good back. Worked hard on this, and I'm grateful to the members on the Budget Working Party who've done that. I'm particularly grateful to Connor and his team, the officers who have been sensible. There are not a lot of there were bids, and we've taken some good ones in terms of service improvement. But there wasn't a big wish list. There was sense and realization that we have, if we are to invest, we need to find some efficiencies. There is an efficiency plan here where transformation of services using AI where it is appropriate gives us those benefits that manage our budget, manage those pressures which are becoming greater. So that's my introduction. Connor, I'd like you now to fill that out a bit, please, and then we'll go into the individual items, letting speak for lunch. Thank you, Connor.
Thank you, Chair. So I'm going to start with the attendance B, which is attendance B and Chairman's sentence. Okay. So members could turn to page 3, please, the medium-term financial plan. And this shows the funding position for 2026, 27, and the following 3 years. Halfway down that table, there's something called a settlement funding assessment. And this consists of 3 elements. It's the revenue support grant, business rates baseline, and the business rates top-up grant. So as part of the 3-year local finance settlement, it was announced that our settlement funding assessment would be 16.234 million for 26-27. So this is an increase of 1.4%, which is obviously quite a lot below inflation. It was worse needed on the settlement funding assessment because it will then reduce to 16.055 million in 27-28, and then a further reduction down to 15.87 million 28-29. And there was obviously a lot of uncertainty around the funding year that we was produced, the 4-year plan. The government is supporting us through these 3 years. So when we go back to the summer, and particularly the picture that's a lot bleaker. So it looks as if there could be potentially be a cliff edge in 29-30. But I've put in some assumptions there showing further reduction in the settlement funding investment. There's also the issue around the large funding formula will be reviewed and spending reviews and that uncertainty. And you know, just in summary, over the 4-year period of the ECTFP, that settlement funding assessment was predicted to be 1.5%. In terms of council tax base will grow by 0.73% in 26-27. Unfortunately, this is below our assumption of 1.5%. We do get quite a bit of variation in the growth of the tax base, so hopefully it will bounce back to something in 5% going forward. Obviously, slightly like the house building, so we've yet to see that come through, but we are hopeful that here as we get through these things, we use that financial plans. A £5 increase in the precept and generate 1.876 million. In total, council tax income for 26-27 will be 34.268 million, and a very small deficit there of £2,000 in relation to council tax collection funds. So in summary, total funding from all sources were around 250.61 million. And that is an increase in core spending power of 4.9% comparable basis. So there's been some movement of the grants that have moved into government funding. Government fundings for future years compared to the current year. Calculations again. So I think that's probably well saying in terms of funding. Members then turn over the page. You'll see there that we've got an efficiency plan. It's been savings for 4 years. And so to help bridge the gap that we've got, within 27, one of the tasks of the Public Working Party is to consider efficiencies and savings. 1.041 million agreed by the Budget Working Party. That goes some way to setting the next page. So on page 5, there you can see the total pressures there are £2.9 million. Most of these relate to pay accounts for nearly 75% of the revenue budget. So pay will to have a significant impact on our ability to balance the budget. Pay awards for both grey and green book staff as members know for this year. 3.2%, this was above our budgeted assumption of 2%. So this difference is actually built into the base for 26-27. And then on top of that, we're assuming grey and green book pay awards of 3% for the first 3 years and then 2%. And I suppose it's just worth mentioning that by chance, 3% is the data of the inflation. Just wanted to go through some of those other lines on into the pressures. The employer national insurance grant has been locked into RSG, so that's a specific grant. And then over the last few years, there's been significant firefighters that have been recruited and developing rates of pay, competent rates, so that will naturally be the budget. Together with the increments for Green Book staff, this will be especially £5,000. Authorities also facing unpolitical pressure around some major contract agreements and negotiated coming up with renewal. And of course, there's the general contract inflation regime. And so that's been calculated there at £364,000 and for 26-27. So then moving on to capital investment, which is a page and is just strictly of the revenue. To the actual treasury and state administration later. Just in terms of revenue, there is an increased pressure on the revenue budget, £7,000, and this is primarily due to the increase in the budget of the direct revenue fund. And members may remember that the current that was cut by £346,000. A lot of that increase is just getting us back to where we wanted to be. Obviously, a difficult as the chair mentioned, it's worth just mentioning the ratio of financial costs to net revenue stream. The chair mentioned that we have a maximum ratio of 3%. Members can see that the 25-26 estimate is 1.59%. Then dip slightly, but then reach 2.71% by 2030. Obviously, I'm supposed to give government a bit of reassurance that looks as if that's quite a steep increase. But if you go back to 2010-11, at that point, the ratio was 3.81%. So we have been at those kind of levels in the past. And what I would say is that despite the fact that we don't have enough funded for capital, I suggest that by the time we get to 29-30, we'd be in a better position than we were in 2010-11 in terms of our assets. Not where we want them, certainly, a much better position. So hopefully that gives them some assurance that the affordability as a direction of traffic. So I suppose then just moving on to summary of the changes. They're shown on page 8. We talked about pressures of 2.904 million increased capital fund for the cost of 782. And these meant to be partly offset by the efficiencies of 4.2. So this leaves a net pressure of 2.645 million, and that's the increase. But it is worth pointing out that there are obviously risks attached to any budget. For us, the first risk that relates to pay. So, page 7 shows additional costs and implementation to payable of 3%. For example, maybe 4%, and it's the pressure there of 372,000. The second risk, that I mentioned, the highlighted amounts of carbon pricing, which could be substantially higher than the general growth of inflation. This and was particularly risk in relation to our large capital projects. And we've seen that over the years that those costs have tended to increase substantially from estimates that initially put in the state. And to be got ahead and done the process. So that's just something again to be aware of. But there's always the risks and budget pressures and be carefully managed. And that's the budget management process.
Well, thank you for that. And in essence, we have discussed budget. It is there. It relies on us agreeing to take the £5 the next 3 years. That is a decision we need to make this evening. If we vote that down, I think the rest of it falls to pieces. So bear that in mind as you decide what you want to do. I'm grateful to you, Connor. The ratio of finance cost to net revenue stream is moving up. I think we've got good control over it. But as I said, it's limiting us in terms of estate investment. There's clearly risks around the pay award, but there are reserves and there are detrimental movements in the reserves, and we'll come on to that a little bit later in terms of our reserve funds. As you can see on page 7, we're not doing any appropriation from reserves to balance this budget. Those of the district and borough council have any reserves left. Some of us don't. We'll be using some of theirs. I believe, Vice Chair, we're using about 8 million to balance your budget this year. So, yes, okay, we'll see what tomorrow night brings in the borough. But we are still in a position of not having to give in the reserves to balance this budget. 29-30, Connor, I say this to you, I say this to members, it's clearly something of an unknown. You modelled it quite rightly on the annual increase in the precept of £2 and 2 pence, down from the £5. Of course, that clearly straight away puts pressure on the ability to balance the budget when you would predict that would have gone from 50.6 million to 56 million. It's an unknown. It's a known unknown. We are effectively agreeing an MTFS, MTFP this year, next year, the year after. Yes, 29-30, but frankly, it's a moving piece. I think it makes absolute sense for the authority. It gives us the ability to plan. I've always wanted and perhaps we'll finally do it this year, to show how, what we achieved, we do it against budget. We should be then bringing that back to say, how well did we do against the MTFS? And it might say it's the same thing, but actually, over the last 3 years, we have an MTFS each year. How close did we get to it? What's our accuracy rate on our MTFS? Because if you don't get near it, there's not a lot of point in setting. And I think there's a little bit of work to be done. But it makes absolute sense from this list and from the budget working party and from the management committee. So the MTFP, I call it MTFS, forgive me mixing my PLAs. Four letter. We are putting this to you. You're not voting now and taking questions and commentary on this before we move on to the efficiency and productivity plan. These get woven together. It's difficult to talk about them discreetly. Do I have any comments or questions or commentary on the MTF? Everyone seems satisfied. We'll then move on. Not striking debate, but as I said, this is not the first time we've seen all these papers. The efficiency and productivity plan is a vital one, and we had to find over £1 million this year without, I believe, detrimentally affecting our service. After this year, if you look at page 3 of the efficiency and productivity plan, we can only predict certain things with certainty, and so we put a baseline figure of similar amounts, the 1,041,000 of $1 million each year. That's what we set as our target. How that 970 in 27-28, $1 million in 28-29, 830 and 29-30 will be achieved is a challenge. And it will come from transformation. Will come from doing things differently and better ways of working, but efficiency and savings as a result. That's a challenge, and there is work to be done, I think, by workshops that we run. We may, I'll talk to the new chief here, might want to set up a small working party with members to look at how these efficiencies may be developed. A task and finish group rather than ongoing working party. Where are those coming from? Because soon enough it will be next year and we'll be wondering how that £1 million is arrived. Digitisation. Mukesh, you have a big part to play in this. And up and down the country, there will be fire services who have new ways of working, new techniques, new software. So that's our challenge. This year it works. Let's make sure the next 3 years after that works. That's Jeffrey, sorry, I'm hogging the microphone.
On page 3 of the section, efficiency and productivity, it's just that I wonder if they can be explained because I'm not there. Removal of direct entry posts and unitary council funding for protection posts. Do forgive me, I do not know what they are.
And I'm just going to repeat what you said because your red light was on all the time. You just need some clarification about the removal of the direct entry post. Who can give me that, please? On it? The chief.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you.
So direct entry was a scheme for direct entrance that was the National Fire Chiefs Council scheme. As a service, we'd agreed to support and engage with that scheme, but that scheme has been closed and withdrawn by the National Fire Chiefs Council. It would require funding of £92,000 for that post. We've now removed that because we're not engaging in the closed scheme. I think you asked the question as well, Councillor Jeffrey, about the protection post unitary council funding for protection post. But that's fine, I'm not.
Yeah, a little bit of, I think that's funding for the land forest council and losing protection. And then.
Thank you. There's also, in my introduction here, we talk about collaborative procurement. And we see that happening with Bucks and Oxfordshire in terms of our appliances and other equipment. So that's the sort of efficiency gain you get. You have to build on and develop, and which I think we do well at. The members, I'm hoping that that lands okay. You're able to consider supporting that very soon. The next one up is the strategic asset investment framework. I believe, Bristol Food paperwork in. And I noticed that Councillor Shepherd and Bay is not here tonight, but again, our investment in appliances, investment in equipment, and our investment in buildings has been substantial over recent years. You will see in this paperwork how we are investing in dignifying workplace sanitary risk areas, how we're investing in sustainability, replacement LED lighting. There's some important things going on here within our investment framework, within our asset. I take a sense of real pride when I go to field, in particular, but also you go to our training facility is now absolutely first class fit. We've refreshed other stations like Slough. We've got a new one in Hungerford. Our one in Wokingham, central Wokingham, is excellent. I could go on, as I say, I'm not going to mention the one or two that need to catch up. We know who they are. I know, I've got two Newbury members over there, plus myself, saying what's going on at Newbury, and it's in us, it's important. And in fact, with Newbury, we are and should continue, Mr. Brooks, to talk to the other Blue Light services, to talk to West Berkshire Council, who I believe you have now got a line of communication is now firmly over. Something you gave in on the week that said you need a bit more attention from West Berkshire Council, and I went in and said it needs to happen. And I've been told it is happening. So I see your finger moving towards the microphone. I'll allow you to come back for a moment.
Yeah, that's correct, Chair. The doors are open. We have also set a Thames Valley state delivery group as well, so looking at all Blue Light services in the region. And that's gaining a bit of traction. We're hoping to feed more into that, and it's already delivering a few benefits.
And while we're on Newbury, and I know Dr. being a bit parochial here, it's my understanding that SCAS, South Central Ambulance Service, will vacate our grounds there. And that will give us some escape that we may wish to do something with. But I think there's, if I can go back, and I know you don't like my history lessons, but I'm going to do it. I can go back to a control room in D-Road, where you virtually moved with a pointer where our appliances were. It wasn't quite like the war rooms in the Second World War, and you pushed a little Spitfire across the map, but it wasn't terribly different either. I'm not sure anybody but me would remember it. Maybe even Becky's saying I don't know. And we remember, most of us remember D-Road. It was deficient in many respects. And here we are, a purpose-built HQ. But in that 15 years, tremendous upgrade to our estate. I personally don't want to hit this problem of continuing that refreshing. And that's the challenge, I think, for our investment framework. Members, questions on this one? Particularly pleased, and I'm sure Councillor McElroy will keep us on our toes, We were not looking for sustainability, carbon savings on page 11. I think it'd be the first one to say we can do more, or we're not doing enough, or even a well done now and again, we might even get on the, putting on the spot then. But this investment framework has much merit. I hope it will be supported. Come on, I will pass back to you now for the Treasury and Investment Strategy. Please.
Thank you, Chair. So, members, one of the key purposes of the Treasury strategy is to demonstrate that there is sufficient resources to pay for the facility program. So again, we've got this link and link is safe. And so as the Chair said, all of these documents are interconnected. So if you could turn to page 6 of the Treasury strategy. This first table there shows the capital expenditure over the next 4 years, as well as this year, the actual last year. And then the second table shows the capital expenditure will be funded from the capital receipts from the development fund, revenue funding up until the end of this. After that, it will follow finance of production of the program. This is shown in the bottom line. And on page 7, this shows the capital financing requirement for the authority. This is the total amount of historic outstanding capital expenditure that hasn't been covered by revenue. And so the table shows that the capital financing requirement increasing from 26 and 27. And confirmed that the authority will need to follow June capital program. On page 8, I think the graph there shows the liability benchmark, and this is an indicator of borrowing needs. It equals the net loans requirement plus assurance liquidity maintenance. For us, that's the outstanding loan balance, which is we would like to see. On page 9, we can see unexpected investments come down quite a bit. It's only 24, 25, 26, and then down to about 9.5 million from 26, 27, and the rest of the period of the NTFP. So we're seeing kind of plateauing investments. And obviously, over the last few years, as the Chair's mentioned, we've had receipts being deload £6 million then, which spent by this year. So we have had monies set aside and the travel risk, as well as factors such as pensions. But the important thing that we have is going to do that they do stabilize. Page 10 then shows the debt increasing 8.5 million pounds in 16, going up to 15.2 million in a 4-year period. So it is anticipated that the authority will take out new loans of 9 million and we pay short loans of 2.3 million. So these figures are all based on the same provisions, obviously, depending on timings of schemes government, obviously affect this. If there's any slippage. And these figures are based on the schemes going forward is proposed. So if you can comfort that everything has been covered in terms of funding requirements of following that capital programme. And so I suppose just to summarise, saying, the capital programme over the next 4 years is ambitious, but it does remain affordable. There's obviously more that we'd like to do. But nevertheless, if you look at the progress we've made over the last few years, we continue in that vein. I hope we've been in a position to say that we have substantially improved all of our state.
Thank you, Conor. I will also draw your attention to my introduction, where we have further requirements related to the investment policy. And we introduced the including countries that get the CCLA account this, in addition to the ones that get the Freedom House was. It's something that is important, and I know our district and borough councils and authorities have been looking at this as well. So I commend this. Again, I'm not asking to vote on it yet, but I believe it is the right thing for us. And again, I'm grateful to client for the management of this. The question and points, no, I'm moving on to a reserves policy. It's nice to have a reserves policy. If I had a reserves policy in Berkshire, I would talk a bit taller. We do have one, but it's pretty well described. But here we do have not only a general fund, we obviously have some earmark reserves. We have an emergency sort of budget reserve, and that all was well. You can see them all on the landscape page on page 8. And again, Conor, I'll ask you to just give us some brief overview of this.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. So over this period up to 29/30, reserve balances, including capital receipts, of 40%. However, this decrease relates to reduced in balances from one of the expenditures over many years. And so as such, the decrease in specific reserves has been planned for. And we're working out set that against the planned increase in the general reserve. So under section 25 of the Local Government Act 2003, and I'm obliged to refer to the robustness of the estimate and the adequacy of proposed financial reserves. I believe that reserves will remain adequate in the medium term. Two reasons. And firstly, that we will maintain the budget contingency reserve of 3% of the revenue budget. And this will give them the confidence in the budget pressures. In addition to that, the general reserve will also be maintained at 5%. This will ensure general emergencies funding and for high impact events.
Yes, and thank you, Gunn. What you see on that landscape page is reserves stabilising and generally looking healthy across the page. Councillor,
I did have one question on page 57. You said earmarked reserves. It says likewise 123,000 transferred from the development fund to the general reserve at the end of 24/25. Is that right?
the members, I will press on. And I will ask Councillor Werner just to introduce the Thames Valley service budget and its fee. Don't have to say much. Councillor Werner, it's just noting really doesn't look pretty spent.
Yeah, thank you, Simon. I just felt.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, just to introduce this report, the Thames Valley
are working really well together, the three fire authorities. You know, I know there's a lot of tension right at the start, but ever since I've been here, it's run really smoothly. Everybody's working really well together, and you know, currently starting the procurement of the new systems, new call contact system. So and we're all being the same hymn, I think, with regard to that. So I hope you can all support the budget.
Thank you, Councillor. And at last, the management committee, we looked at the software applications and the way forward with that. We've got regular reports on that. I'm looking at Tim Redding's with that. But it makes sense in terms of this budget setting. And finally, fees and charges. Indicated. And you see on the inspection marriage licenses, finance approved. We put up the interview of fire officer to that inflation. It's a bargain at £194 plus VAT. Don't know how many we charge for your services, Chief. But nevertheless, you can see that we generally move these up. What was it? 3%, yeah, absolutely. So members, that concludes the sort of introduction to each of the papers. Price then.
Thanks, Chair. I mean, and thanks obviously for your comprehensive introduction to all these items. I said wait till the end to say a few words in support of the budget. First thing I want to say again is thanks very much to Connor and his team for the great work that they do. Obviously, we had this presented to us at the management committee, and again tonight. So if you're a manager with you, I'm probably repeating something I said, but also want to thank the city leadership team, all members of staff actually, because they've helped create this budget, and they've also helped make sure that the budget we had for last year, there's no overspend. So referring to local authorities, a lot of the pressures we have come from overspend within a year of the budgets that we set for the previous year, particularly around sort of things my portfolio around social care and those things. But we haven't got that on the authority, and I think Connor's team, you know, sort of worked virtually to the last penny on this stuff. I mean, this is a good budget for the service. There are no, for instance, as speak from other authorities and other areas, there are no redundancies, no firefighter losses, or you know, we've established compelled efficiencies in certain areas around protection and those type of areas, and obviously to some of the business cases, and we've built in efficiencies throughout the service, and I think we, as the chair has alluded to, we are going to have to continue those pace over the next number of years, because it does get more challenging, and so it's all the more important that obviously that Mark and senior leadership team and others are on the ball with this. We can make those savings. I mean, a lot of extra money is coming from the government. Obviously, the government my party is represented now, and obviously those of us on our side of politics will be lobbying the government where we can to obviously make sure that fire does get, you know, fair funding, and we can certainly avoid some of the horrors that other services are seeing in certain areas. And some of that may be due to, you know, the way that they've been run in the past historically, and things get stalled up, don't they? And then you take over and find that you're in trouble. But fortunately in Berkshire, we've had a period of continuity actually, both in terms of finance and also political continuity. We've obviously, outside of these walls, some of the political parties we might disagree on budgets and other issues, but largely within this setting, the parties have worked together on various working groups, budget working parties are the classic case in part. And thanks very much, obviously, for Trish and everybody from my side who worked on the budget working party, and all members of that. And this is good value for the public. Okay, it's a 5 for 5, but that really, you know, it's 5%. price to pay for the service that they receive. I've got personal experience of this. My mother-in-law phoned me up about a week or so back at 6 o'clock in the morning and said, "There's smoke coming from next door." In a block of flats she lives in Reading. I thought, well, I mean, you've called the brigade, and she did. There were multiple calls, and they arrived there incredibly quickly. I think 3 appliances. Quite serious fire. People had to jump out of buildings, all sorts of things. It's next door, but they were there quickly, and 3 appliances. And obviously, I texted. He gave me enough there, but it's an example of how quick our crews get there. 75% nearly of the time they get there within 10 minutes of the actual call being made, and that was a classic example. So it is good value for the public in Berkshire, and I know confirmation from Conrail that we remain in the lowest quartile of band D amount that we charge ratepayers. I mean, I think it's sort of 80 pounds. In other areas, it can be 120, 130 pounds for the same service. So we are a good value service as well. However, there are challenges ahead, and we've alluded to that as regards obviously the future builds of stations like New Green. So we do need to find the funding for that, because we've got our own very good revenue rules. It's a bit like Rachel Reeves's fiscal rules. But we need to keep to them, because other authorities have found, both in our local authorities and in fire service, where they broke these rules and they run into very big trouble. So we're good to stick to these rules, but obviously we need, as politicians, to lobby government for, especially around areas around capital grant. And I think the chief has may say a few words about that towards the end of this session. So we need to do that. But overall, I commend this budget. We recommended the management committee. It's great work all round, and I think, I'm pretty sure we're going to get unanimous support for this. So thanks everybody that was involved, and thanks obviously elected members for their partners with classes.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Councillor Benedict.
Thank you, Chairman. I'd just like to say on behalf of my group that we'd like to raise our thanks to the Department of Finance team. Also the Public Working Party. I was able to take part in some of those. Those I was able to. I found it very valuable, insightful, and for some hard argued cases put forward and decisions to make. I think we've arrived at a good place. I think we have a sound budget for us tonight, and I think it's a sound budget for people of Berkshire. So, thank you, team, and let's see how we go.
Thank you, Councillor. Members, we're at that stage that we're being asked to vote on this. The long and the short of it is we're generally asking households to pay £1.75 per annum to have fire service available. Service, as I've said many times, they'd rather not use, but they want it there. And we're a damn fine service for £1.75 a week, my God. And I don't think you'd knock on a household in Berkshire, anybody would say that's not valuable for money. So well done to the service, the members, to everybody involved. It's a good result. We are being asked to approve the increase in the Band D precept amount, 2627. We're being asked to approve the medium-term financial plan, Appendix B. Approve the efficiency and productivity plan in Appendix C. Approve the strategic asset investment framework in Appendix D. The Prudential New Gains Treasury Strategy and Investment Strategy in Appendix C. Reserves policy in Appendix F. 735 Control Service Revenue and Capital Budgets 2627 is set out in Appendix G. And approve the fees and charges 2627 is set out in Appendix H. I am pleased to propose that. Look for a second, please. Vice Chairman, thank you very much indeed. All those in favour, therefore, please show. Chair, just need to unlock. You're going to do a recorded vote. I nearly got away with it, but now I'm now, yes, very clear. I think we know how they're going to go, Councillor, Mr. Britton, and I'll leave it to you to bring it home Thank you, Chair. I'll just conduct a roll call by surname alphabetical order. When your name is called, please indicate that you vote for, against, or abstain. Councillor Bello, for. Thank you. Penwell, for. Thank you. Brooks, for. Thank you. Brown, for. Thank you. Drummond, for. Thank you. Getting, for. Thank you. Godwin, for. Thank you. Griffiths, for. Thank you. Jeffrey,
For.
thank you. McElroy,
Abstain.
Mackenzie Boyle,
For.
thank you. Neil Sweetheart, Palmer, for. Thank you. Smith, for. Thank you. Werner. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Okay, I think we can press on with the rest of the meeting. And I'll just bring my pages up because the next one is the pay policy. Pay policy statement 26/27, standard item. I don't know if this is whether Saul Becky you're introducing this.
I think that's.
Yes, please.
So members will be aware that we are required to prepare a pay policy statement for each financial year. All the information on staff and post and salary for the first purpose of pay multiples are taken from data from the 31st of October 2025. With the exception of the standard annual updates to the budget, population of voucher, staff figures, pay awards and the pay multiples, it has not been necessary to amend either the format or the confidential pay policy statement for 2026-27. The authority are therefore invited to approve the pay policy statement subject to any further recommendations considered appropriate.
Members, I won't prolong this with my own contribution particularly on the question. Okay, I think we're just passing around the roll call, aren't we? So this is that the signatories? Yeah. Okay, I think we've got a clear run on this. What we're calling down recommendation here that we approve the pay policy statement as per appendix to pay. Publication. So if there's any further recommendations which don't have any. Again, I'm to propose that. Do I have a seconder? Got Councillor Jeffrey. All those in favour, I can do this one, yes. And those in favour? Okay. Thank you, members. We now come to the most difficult item of the evening. Simply Tangley Street. And the scheme of allowance review. This is the sort of thing members can spend an hour on or 5 minutes. Okay, the Kate Group, the recommendation that be adopted. Members who are not necessarily wishing to adopt it or not prepared to adopt it, but do not actually take an increase. There's all sorts of ways you can respond to this. We do need to make a decision as to whether we will adopt it. And we note the 3.2%, £7.77 per month in basic rental allowance, the rate in accordance with annual local government green book is applied to scheme allowances paid for first of April 25, backdated to first of April 25. We're being asked to approve the scheme allowances continue to be indexed, the annual local government green book, and to note the recommendation by each of the 6 unitary authority independent remuneration plans of the in line with the local authority allowance in England regulations 2003. This is what we are being asked to support. Do I have commentary or questions? Yes, Vice Chair.
Commentary really. I think it's very ridiculous that we, and I probably can say this every year as councillors on our authorities and also as a fire authority have to vote effectively on our own, or we call it pay, but their allowances. I personally think they should be taken out of our hands and done essentially, but we are where we are. we can't do that, and we're left with this, with this quandary. And the Fire Authority actually several years back now did adopt a scheme actually to bring us in line with percentage rise as outlined in this report. So I think that is a sensible approach. Obviously, if inflation was high and the pay awards were suddenly up to say something like 10%, then local council, we might take a different view than that. But I think this is within the bounds of reasonableness. I think most members of the public will accept that as reasonable. So I would support this general approach. But I think we have to look at it every year actually as well. We do occasionally have, obviously people, independent assessors look at this. In fact, that's what they did when we set up the scheme that sort of we're following tonight. We had independent assessors and we were all questioned and asked what we did, and there was the scheme of allowances was sensibly forged on that. So I think this is a good approach. But I do understand if members don't want to take it or donate it to the firefighter charity or that type of thing. It's a personal preference. There's no real particle or political agenda really with these in these issues. I think it's a well-presented report and we should support.
Councillor Brown.
I think I've spoken that thing on the top of the boxes on it. First of April 24, first of April 30.
Page numbers.
Sorry, first page and it's one, three.
Page 3.
It's table.
Within the financial regulations. You have a sort of slight disadvantage. Can you give us a little bit more?
Sorry.
Having to hear you, sorry.
Scheme of allowances.
Appendix A.
What's the page number?
Question.
Annex, page 3 of 5, Annex 1, just before the last page of the report.
Yeah, it's appendix B.
Appendix B.
Yeah.
Very well. Page 3. And
First of April 24, April 25,
yes.
should be 25 and 26.
Mr. Brooks coming back now.
Yeah, I can just explain that to members. That's the concept of the pay award that was by the 25-26, it's irrelevant to 26-27. That's an attachment to the NJCJ circular explaining how index will apply in the year 25-26. So it is correct, and it's not produced by officers, they're produced by the LBA. It's explained in your understanding.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Brown. Councillor Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to strongly support what the Vice Chairman was saying in both fundamental respects. Firstly, I completely agree that this kind of activity should be conducted centrally by the government. I don't think it should be done with individual councillors to be there. I think they should be given a job for a separate body to do, perhaps not the government, perhaps a separate body. Set up, another body set up to make these various recommendations. The second point where I support my statement is that I do prefer, and I believe these are reasonable and slides that the put in the document here, and that I would be the second. That's
So I believe the vice chair has proposed or looked like, sounded like he was having to propose. I've got a seconder. If I don't have any comments or further questions, I'm going to put that to vote. Councillor Bateman.
So I've almost forgot what I was going to say. It's very awkward, this situation. We have this link, we have it. But my feeling is that if it's not for members to take it, the allowance then will allowance increase. That's a very matter of their own conscience, but I feel as though we have a duty for those who come after us. It's not necessary for councillors here this evening, this those would-be councillors, and I wouldn't want to deny anybody of any circumstance the ability to sit around this table, the privileged ability to sit around this table and have money be a reason to disbar. We owe it to those who come after us to accept this along.
Back to you. I think I'm ready to vote. I have a seconder, a proposer and seconder. Vote. All those in favour? Show. Any against? Abstentions? Is carried. Happy with that, Mr. Brown? Thank you very much indeed. Next item, report out the appointment committees. Going to be necessitated some adaptation to the committee bases. Are you happy to introduce them, please?
I propose the page statement as read, Chair. It's obligation should be authority and its committees. The recommendation of the chief proposes to agree with functionality and set out. Second recommendation is to make the ensuing appointments to the two committees, the management committee, the governance committee, SSL, and as those 5 members are the political group, they need to be appointed in accordance with the leader's wishes. And I haven't had an indication from the group leader that following appointments should be approved by the authority in terms of the management committee. I have Mackenzie Boyle, Smith, Gosling, and audit the governance committee on Saturday. And
I don't see anybody demurring from that.
Fine.
I'm going to propose this. It makes sense. Seconder, Councillor Mackenzie Boyle. Those in favour? Dr. Gosling, you have a position.
Well done.
Members, we're heading back now to. Fair enough. Earlier today, I predicted 8 o'clock finish. I've got 4 minutes. I think I'll drag it out for 4 minutes. I'm going to filibuster to get to the 8 minutes. 8 o'clock, forward plan. Members having the full plan. Minutes and standing committee, recommendation to note the minutes of recent meetings. I propose we note them. I've got a seconder in Councillor Jeffrey. And if we need a name vote on this, we probably go into 3 minutes. 3 minutes for the recording vote. And the date, the next meeting, 30th of April 2026. By which time our chief, our current chief, will have had 4 weeks of retirement and be crashing around the walls, wondering what to do with himself.
The fire, Chairman, the Fire Authority runs a very good volunteer programme, if you know.
So, having dragged it out by another 2 minutes, I'm now going to.
Can I track it up another second or two?
ultimately prefer to issue long and happy retirement. Too much.
And we're now keeping Councillor McElroy from his bike. Thank you all. Good night, thank you very much.